Here are 5 mistakes you don't want to be making if you're trying to get in great shape. I'm Rachel, an online coach helping women get fitter and stronger and build a body that looks and feels better in their 30s and 40s than the one they had in their 20s. And I have done all of these things we're going to talk about, and you probably have too, or at least a few of them. So if you're not getting the outcome you want, stop doing the same thing over and over just because you think that is the answer. The first one, and this shocks a lot of people, it's constantly dieting. That is such a huge mistake if you want to get in shape. And that might sound counterintuitive, but the problem is constantly dieting, or the perception that you're constantly dieting, is keeping you in this loop where you go on a diet or into a deficit and then you manage it for a certain period of time and then something happens and it throws you off. Whether that's a weekend, whether that's a holiday, whether that's an event, whether it's just a meal. And you're suddenly off the diet or out of the deficit. And then you decide enough's enough and you get back into the deficit. So it always feels like you are in this deficit, in this diet. But the constant stop-start is why you're not seeing progress. And not only that, but yes, you might have fat to lose, and therefore being in a deficit might be beneficial. But the women that you see that have great bodies, that look lean and defined and toned and all of that stuff, don't just do one diet and then they're done. They don't just go on in a fat loss phase and then they're done. They spend a lot of time eating at maintenance or slightly above and training hard. And that's the thing that you're often missing. Jump into a diet, into a deficit far too quickly. And there's no time spent building the foundation and working on that foundation and building the muscle mass. Because I tell you now, it's so much easier to lose fat when you've got a foundation of muscle, because you're probably going to be doing it on higher calories for a start. So if you have spent a lot of time trying to diet, trying to lose fat, the alternative is spend a chunk of time at maintenance. Eating well, eating consistently, training hard, training consistently. Allow your body to do its thing. Allow it to function well on a decent diet. Give it the energy it needs. Push it in your training sessions because you will have the fuel to do so. And give it time to build some lean muscle tissue. Then you can go into a deficit. Number 2, chasing the burn. You are only exercising to burn calories, to break a sweat, to feel exhausted and feel like you've worked out. Feeling like you've worked out and training effectively are 2 very different things. You can have a really effective workout and not feel exhausted, have barely broken a sweat, and the calorie burn on your watch is probably going to be negligible. And that can be the really confusing thing. You just doing more classes, more cardio, more workouts, adding more exercises in because you want to feel fatigued, you want to feel like you've worked out, is one of the reasons why you're not making progress. I used to be so obsessed with how many calories I'd burnt on my watch. And if I sweated loads, that I think it was a great workout. No, you sweat loads when your body's effective at cooling you down. Instead of chasing those metrics, chase actual progress, strength progress, fitness progress. You should be lifting more over time. You should be slowing your reps down and making everything count and being really intentional. You should have better fitness metrics, your heart rate coming down quicker after intervals, being able to run for longer. Those things are important in terms of seeing you making progress. But when we're chasing the burn and we're chasing these outcomes, it's the assumption that these exercises are good for fat loss, are going to make us lose weight. And we don't exercise for fat loss. We train for the outcome that we want, which is strength, fitness, performance, power. Those are the things that we can track and that we can push for. We shouldn't be exercising for fat loss. That's not how it works. So change your mindset as to what your training goal is. And to be honest, if your goal is getting fitter, getting stronger and building a body that you actually like the look of, a body that looks like you train and put all the effort in that you are, that's going to involve building some strength, it's going to involve building some muscle, and it's going to involve a little bit of cardiovascular work as well. Mistake number 3, going low carb. Been there, done it. When I did my transformation, I did it on a low carb diet. Mainly because the time the transformation I did, the coach I worked with was syncing carb cycling around the menstrual cycle, and because I suddenly stopped having a period, I stayed in the low carb phase. Oddly, I didn't feel bad on low carb. I didn't get the brain fog people talk about. I didn't feel weak and lethargic, and I stuck at it for a really long time. Would not recommend it. Not when you're trying to build some muscle, not when you're trying to feel good during your training sessions, not when you actually want a life around that as well. Yes, you can make lower carb alternatives, you can eat lower carb when you go out, but there's no pizza involved in low carb, is there? So carbs are our primary source of energy. And the mistake that a lot of women make by going low carb is, again, they think it is going to create more fat loss. Because what happens when we go low carb is we lose weight, water weight. When you eat carbohydrates, your body stores those carbohydrates in your muscle cells as glycogen. For every gram of glycogen that's stored, you will store 3 to 4 grams of muscle. If you stop eating carbohydrates, you will deplete your glycogen stores and then not be replacing them. So you will also remove that water that's being held in the cells as well. That is the weight that's being lost. It's not fat. You'll just have a big number drop on the scales initially, and that's it. So if you're chasing weight loss, great, in your first week you'll have a big lot of weight loss. Then you won't. And it's also not going to be fat loss, and it's not going to be conducive to building the body that you actually want. Number 4, high reps, low weight. This is something that women have been conditioned that that's what they need. That's the answer for toning. If you want to look toned, you don't tone a muscle, you build a muscle and you strip fat. So, and that's the same principle in terms of building muscle, whether you're female or male. When it comes to lifting weights, what's important in building muscle, not loads of muscle, a small amount of muscle to get that toned look, is how close is your proximity to failure when you're lifting. And the studies have shown that anywhere from 5 to 30 reps can be successful in achieving that. Now, I would much rather work between 5 and 12 reps than I would at 30 reps. A few things. It's going to be easier to figure out that you are closer to failure in a lower rep range because you're going to have to go heavier. It's not going to take as long. It's not going to be as boring. When you're doing 30 reps of something, it's more likely to feel the burny feeling and get bored and kind of be over it than it is, I think I'm close to failing this exercise now. So yes, you can do high reps and still get that muscle building effect if you are using the appropriate weight. But it's a lot harder. It's a lot more time intensive. It's a lot more boring. So stick to a lower rep range, stick to a heavier weight, push hard, and get the result that you want quicker. Don't be wasting junk volume on super high reps, really low weight. Because if you could do 30 reps of the weight and then you could do another 15, that's not going to be doing shit. If you do 8 reps and you can only do another 1 or 2, that's going to be a sweet spot. And the final mistake you do not want to be making if you want to get in shape is mixing it up. Now look, I get it. it can feel really boring training. Personally, I don't often feel that. I enjoy doing the same exercises, and I would recommend you doing the things that you really enjoy. Once you know what's going to be effective and you're getting a balanced workout, stick with the movements that you really enjoy and that work for you. But mixing it up, shocking the muscles, isn't what your body needs to make progress. You need the consistency so you can actually see that over time you are doing more and pushing yourself harder. That's what's going to get you the results. Changing it up every week, every session, every couple of weeks, you're not going to see that consistency and see how you are improving. You don't need variety. You need samey-sames, but make it fun. Challenge yourself. Do the movements you enjoy. This is what I have literally done, the same 8 exercises on repeat for 8 years with a little bit of sprinkling thrown in there. And this is the thing, right? You can still have some variety in your programming and through your programming cycles. So you might have core lifts, and then you might have your accessory movements that change ever so slightly, doing different variations. Even the order in which you do things throughout your training blocks can be enough. It's not that you need to be doing something different every time. You need to be doing the same things, but pushing yourself more each time. I really hope this has been helpful. Let me know which ones resonated the most. And if you are desperate to get in shape and it's not happening or not happening in the way that you think it would, or don't think you're doing the right things, please drop me a message on Instagram. Let's have a chat. It can be so different if you've got a simple structure to follow. And I'll see you in the next video.